Welcome to another in the series, Sip and Chat, a place where we talk about the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. It's our pleasure this afternoon to be coming into your homes and to be talking about the goodness. Welcome to another in the series, Sip and Chat, the place where we talk about the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, a place where we inspire hope. And we also seek to empower those who feel like they're helpless and that there's no way out. You're just joining us. I'm your host, Lily Tomlinson. It's always my pleasure to join you in the evenings and just to put that added sense of inspiration and pep as we go through this program. Now, this afternoon, I want to talk about a topic that it's not one of the topics that seems to get a lot of attention that it truly deserves, but it's one that's very, very important. One of the things that COVID has taught us is that death is no respecter of person, and that it's no respecter of time as well. And so you could be present now, but you could be gone tomorrow. And so this afternoon, I'll be talking to a good friend of mine, one who is in the insurance business as well. And we talk a little bit about that as well. But how she had to cope with the loss of someone who was very special to her. Welcome to the program, Ronia. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. And good evening to all your viewers.
Yes. I know it took you a little while to agree to this interview. And that's quite understandable because this is a very sensitive issue. But I'm so glad that you decided to have this conversation with us. Because one of the things that we know in Jamaica is that not because something doesn't get talked about doesn't mean it's not real, and doesn't mean that it doesn't affect people. And so, it's so empowering and so, enriching when someone who has gone through an experience, and though not totally over, I will talk about that as well, is able to give someone strength. Even though you might need strength, you can get someone. So tell us a little bit about who is Miss Harris. Well, no, it's not actually Miss Harris. I forgot the Miss Campbell. Right.
Well, I'm just an ordinary, very ordinary
Jamaican
woman. I have been, ever since I left school, I've been involved in the financial sector. So I've worked with corporate Jamaica for over about 40 years now.
40 years.
Yeah, 30 plenty. Right. And I was in banking. And since 2013, I've been in insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one son. And up to 2020, I had a husband.
2020?
Up to 2020, yeah.
Right. So, okay. Thank you for telling us about that. So one thing that I want to talk about, tell us a bit about how you got married, what were the pull factors to your spouse and so on. Just tell us a little bit about that built up.
Well, when I was working in banking, I remember one day this gentleman came and we used to have our name tags.
Right.
So he came in to the bank, he addressed me by name, and he asked me for a blank sheet of paper. A kind of strange request, but he asked for a blank sheet of paper, which I gave to him. So I think that was the icebreaker.
Okay.
Right, because he addressed me by name and then he introduced himself. So subsequent to that, I learned that he was living not very far from where I was.
Right.
And then most mornings I'm going to work, coincidentally, this gentleman would just drive by just in time when I need to get a taxi. And I used to wonder, this coincidence.
Right.
But later on in life, he told me that it really wasn't a coincidence. He used to come out early and keep down the road, and as soon as him see me pop up,
he had a focus.
Very focused.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
so this was like in the 90s. So the friendship blossomed into a relationship, and we eventually got married. And the union produced one son.
Right.
Matthew.
So, what was his name? Tell us his name.
Audley Campbell.
Audley Campbell.
Audley James Campbell.
Audley James. So Mr. Campbell had a plan in the back of his mind, and that was how am I going to capture this rose? And so eventually you guys came together and you produced a child. Now talk to us about what happened in 2020.
Okay. A little precursor to that.
Right.
I think it was in 2016. He was diagnosed with kidney failure.
Okay.
He has always, well, for the period that I knew him, he was always on medication for diabetes. So in 2016, 15, I believe it was. Remember when we had chickpea?
Oh, okay, right, that part.
In 2015, he was diagnosed with kidney failure, end-stage renal disease. So he now needed to do dialysis, right? This was kind of frightening, but you realize
because you were a young girl at the time, right?
Still a young girl,
well, at least a younger lady.
Right. So we had to find all the avenues everywhere now that he would require treatment and so on. Well, his doctor was good. Pointed us to treatment and thing, and he started the treatment, which is extremely expensive. But he also applied to get onto the Ministry of Health program. Right. And eventually, maybe I should mention this, that about 2 years into his private treatment, we got a call from the Spanish Town Hospital to say that there's an opening.
Okay.
Right. And when we went...
You mean that there was a kidney that he could get?
No.
Just to get on their...
To get on the treatment, right.
Okay.
Well, we spoke about the kidney transplant. He wasn't considering that. He just thought that he would go through the process of treatment, and when the Lord ready for him.
Okay.
He's good with that, right? So when we went to the hospital and spoke with the nurse in charge of the renal unit, she said, no, he asked, how is it that he's just been called? And she said, well, we just lost one of our patients. And he said, so nurse, somebody had to die for me to
get treatment.
And that is the reality. Somebody else had to move on so that you can get on to the treatment. So, well, it was a good, well, by this time he was on three sessions per week, but the hospital only provided for 2.
I guess do one privately.
Right, so we still continue to do one privately. But the support system, I tell you something, support system is really, really important in life. I remember he has this brother who worked in Kingston. His brother used to come almost every Monday morning and pick him up to take him to get his treatment done. And then sometimes I would take him home, or the brother would take him home sometimes. So the support system was there. And
so one thing that I'm hearing you saying, Ronia, is that as even before you get to the stage where you lose someone, when they're going through their process, whatever that illness is, the support system is critical in just helping you to go through that period, because it can be very challenging.
It is very challenging indeed. Right, so he did his treatment, he was on his program for a while, did very well. So fast forward to 2020, he went into the Spanish Town Hospital for treatment one afternoon, and this is now in the heights of the COVID pandemic.
Right.
Nobody knew. Remember, this was the novel coronavirus. Nobody knew what it was, and everybody was afraid of everybody. You're told not to hug your relatives and stuff like that. We were on lockdown, and we were dealing with COVID really well, really well. I remember, well, we didn't go anywhere except to dialysis treatment at this time. I remember his barber came in one day to get his hair cut. And I thought about it and I said, you know what, cut mine too. Because we're not going to anywhere to get any hairstyle done and then come back to infect him with COVID. Because we were hearing that persons with underlying conditions
We're more vulnerable.
That's right. So we were dealing with COVID really well. So this day he went to the hospital. After his treatment, his what do you call it now? His oxygen level. His oxygen level went low, and the nurse said that she's not allowed to send him home like that. Oh Jesus! And then the whole world started to turn upside down. So they admitted him. Back in those days, when they admit you initially, you're just placed in an area where everybody is because we don't know who is COVID positive or not.
Okay.
Right. So he was in that area. I gave him mask because I didn't want him to contract the virus. So I gave him mask. But one day when I went to visit him, I noticed that he wasn't wearing any mask. I said, what happened to your mask? He said, well, Miss Ronia, the nurse said, we are not supposed to wear masks. It's only the caregivers supposed to wear the mask. And I said, Jesus, have mercy.
So as far as you knew, when you went to the hospital, it was just a kidney issue. There was no
Yeah, man.
COVID.
Definitely. No COVID. So eventually he got to the stage where they tested him and he came back positive. And man, isolation. Whew. And he's not that type of person. He's very
sociable.
Yeah. Actually, he was a politician. Very sociable and very jovial and thing. Isolation. I know that wasn't going to work with him. So should I get into it?
You don't have to go that far because I know it's a very emotional thing. So eventually, so the final diagnosis that where he transitioned would have been the COVID or the kidney failure?
COVID.
The COVID. Okay. Okay. Do you remember the last thing you said to him?
The last time I spoke to him is
But before you get to that, let me ask you, even though he was in isolation, were you allowed to visit as the wife? Because that's another concern that other persons I know had to struggle with during that period.
I had to fight to get a chance to visit him twice a week.
Okay.
Thank God for my brother. I have a brother overseas. He was, because I went there to visit him and the nurse said no, I couldn't. And I said, nurse, I have to. And she said, I'm at risk of catching COVID. And I said, miss, if I'm dead, I'm going dead too. So if I the COVID will kill me, might as well. Just allow me. She said, I can't go in without the
I know
garbs.
Yeah, right.
So I said, give me some. Right. She said, give you some. We don't even have enough in it.
For the nurses and doctors. The full suit.
I just called my brother now and him buy some overseas and ship them to me. I got them the next day. So I got the full suit. The moon suit.
Right.
I got everything. And I got enough. I could donate some to the hospital. It was a lot. So I used to go in like that twice a week to see him.
Okay.
On the days that he was treated.
Okay.
Right. So where was I now?
So know that. So we were asking like what was the last thing you remember saying to him?
Okay. So the day before he died, I saw him, and
people generally say if you feel these like an instinct, you thought that was the last day, or
no? I know he knew it was the last day.
Oh, he said something.
A tear. We were, praying together and so on, and I saw a tear roll down his cheek. And he said, "Audley, don't cry. Oh my, we can push through this. I know you have the strength." Because the doctor told me, she said, he has gone through because it was really chaotic, they needed antibiotic, the hospital don't have it, they would call me, I would go out and get it privately and bring it in and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So but he was in now like for about a month.
Okay.
So she said, well, it's remarkable, your husband's response to
Positive.
medication is really remarkable because he has passed through the COVID incubation period, whatever it
Yes.
is. But I am sorry to state that he has contracted some bacteria that, because he was in the hospital so long,
Right.
he contracted this bacteria, and she was saying she don't know if the system is strong enough
To fight the bacteria.
to fight.
Yeah.
Right. So, when I saw him that last evening, and I was removing my mask to get closer to him, he said, "No, don't do that. This COVID thing is serious." He said, "No, do it." And why I couldn't manage him where I came out.
Okay.
And I was just an emotional mess.
Right.
But there was
But all this
There
time,
was
where
this
was your
nurse.
son? What were you saying to your son?
Oh, he was at home and my sister was home with him.
Okay.
I remember one evening I was home and the doctor called, and I don't remember what she said, but whatever it is, it didn't sound too hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
And I was crying, and he came and he said, "Mommy, why are you crying? What happened?" Didn't answer him, and he said, "Daddy's still alive, right?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "So why are you crying?
Mm-hmm.
Relax, man," and so on. "You're scaring me."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the following morning, this morning now after that visit, um, I was called to the hospital and they gave me the news and what have you. So I had to go home and break that news to
To
him.
him, right? And Daddy was his idol.
Him ball like a cow, Every last, everything that came from the bottom of his lungs came up. Yeah, but
God has been good, right? And I mean, one of the things that persons have said during this COVID period, where you did actually get a chance to have, you had a funeral and everything, right?
It wasn't a funeral,
right? Because that's
so to speak. The usual funeral with a casket and so on. No, we had a memorial service. The church he attended is a really big church, so we were permitted to have a service, observing the social distancing and all the protocols and things. Yeah.
Because one of the things that we heard, what many persons have said, and a lot of attention has not been paid to, is that during COVID, a lot of persons lost family members, friends, children lost dads, and wives lost spouses, whether they be husbands or wives, and just so much happened. And one of the things is that many people have not gotten a chance to mourn over their loved ones, and so people tend to walk around with a lot of these emotions, a sense of anger as well, a sense of, depending on how they had their experiences at a hospital. And mark you, we respect our hospitals, and we know they probably would have been doing what they thought was in the best
they
interest.
did a good job.
Right.
They did a good job under the circumstances.
Right. So the thing is that a lot of people have not gotten a chance to actually mourn or to talk about the death and so on. I know in the United States, President Biden, he actually had a day of mourning for COVID victims, where you could just have that day. So we want to tell the people out there who are going through their process that they need to have their own sense of release and closure to what has happened. I want to talk to you a little bit about how do you walk through the process, right? So first of all, one thing that we know that in grieving, you have to acknowledge the grief. Have you come to that place of saying he's no longer there and you're trying to just take it day by day, or are you still in denial? I know it's 2020.
No, I'm not in denial anymore. Let me tell you something. I was, when I went to the hospital and they said that he passed, right? Time and everything, I said, I want to see. I want to see. And the doctor said, no, he went and checked, and then he came and he said, no, it's not permitted. I said, really? Well, you have to get the permission. I was so persistent, and I, I got in touch with the assistant matron, and that Sunday morning she left her house and came and assisted me. We both got into our moon suit, yeah, and we went in, and I saw him on the bed, so peaceful,
Right.
and I spoke to the nurse who attended to him last. Right. So that is where I kind of get the closure. But
And I think that's important too, because for a lot of people, they didn't get to see their loved ones. It's not like you died in Miami and they send home the body. So for some people, as far as they're concerned, their loved one is still in New York, or even though they know, so there's not disclosure, and that is very frustrating as well.
So listen to what happened to me now. I was at home, kind of just relaxed, because as long as he's above ground, it's like he's in the hospital.
Right.
So a friend came, a couple of my friends came one evening, and one of them was talking about a co-worker that she had a relative who died in the hospital, and they the same COVID issue. And by the time she got to the morgue, no, she didn't get to the morgue. The morgue came to her. Good day, miss. Are you Mrs. So-and-so? Yes. This is your mother's remains. Oh, Jesus. We said, that really happened? She said, yes. They burn it because the person died from COVID and they were running out of storage space. So they just arbitrarily did some cremation. He said, no, not over my dead body. So I run immediately the next morning. I went to do the paperwork for the hospital to move it to the
morgue,
to the undertakers and so on. So I just got the process in train right away.
Right.
I didn't want that to happen.
I mean, because we did see some horrible pictures out of the US, like bodies upon top of bodies upon top of bodies. Boy,
right.
We take life.
That would really take me out.
Right?
Yeah.
We take so much for granted, and when you look back on your married life, like and you had a lesson to say to people about ceasing the moment and just enjoying life. What would be some of the lessons that you'd want to say to people about just enjoying life? And I know that you're a Christian as well. I want to ask you the role of faith.
Well, the truth is, I would only say, you see, the Bible has a lot of nuggets. The verse that kept me during that period is the 23rd Psalm, where it says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and I saw that valley as a real place. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I couldn't talk, I couldn't, nothing. I remember my mother came to stay with me, and she stayed for less than 2 weeks, because my mother really don't like to leave her house. So
that was a big deal.
Yeah, it was. And she brought her bush. She had soursop leaf and 2 other things, I don't remember. But she would make me this tea each night.
Kind of like calming the nerves.
Right,
and so on.
right. And I eventually started to get some rest. And she just get up one morning and she said, you rest really well last night. My job is finished. You have to do the rest on your own. Come carry me home.
just like that.
Just like that.
Right.
And I had to take her home that day.
Right.
So ever since that day, it has been Matthew and I.
Okay, yes.
And the Lord, I don't know, the Lord has just provided people along the way.
Right.
I had like friends from school who I don't even remember from school, but I could call on any hour of the night
just to talk to them.
During that period. Because I couldn't work. I couldn't go to work. I didn't work for about a year. During that period, I read the Bible through cover to cover. When my eyes hurt from reading, I would turn on the audio. If I'm tired to hear the male voice, I turn on the female voice. But I went through. So it was a support system.
Right.
Because remember, this is COVID period. Nobody's allowed to come.
And visit.
Right. And then he died from COVID.
So that did make it worse.
Jeez.
Well, Ronia, this is such an interesting discussion, and we're definitely going to have you back another time just to talk about, life after and how, But one thing that we're really affirming here is that the Lord knows the way through the wilderness, and that really all we have to do is trust Him. It's not always easy, as you have said, but when you have God, I don't know, God is just amazing. You can't really explain Him. But if the last few words that you'd want to encourage somebody today, what would you say about life?
Well, in general,
because you're in life
is a
insurance.
gift.
Right.
Life is a gift. So I would say to anybody, just make the best of that gift. Do everything that you want to do. Tell everybody you love that you love them. Just show love and have faith.
Right.
And have faith.
Well, thank you so much, Ronnie. As I said, we're definitely going to have her back because I know a lot of persons have been, so empowered by this program this afternoon. One of those ones that we have to take it slow. But, right, drop us a line, drop the studio a line if you were blessed and you want, just let us know how you're feeling about the program because your feedback is so important to us. And in closing, I want to say, as Ronnie said, yesterday is gone, today is the present, and the future is still ahead of us. So let us start speaking positive and enjoying and peace in the moment. I don't know who you're sitting beside, but just look at them and tell them that you love them because I love you. Too many people. Let us just continue to sip and chat.
God bless you.
Yeah, too many people wait too late to say how they feel about someone. Until next time, let's continue to sip and chat.